Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to our new recently elected board members, Joe Gander, David Thiel. We're going to have a swearing-in ceremony right now.
Thank you, Commissioner Sola, and specifically for Ms. Anger and Mr. McNeil. I will be administering the oath of office, and congratulations on your election. Do each of you hereby solemnly affirm that as an elected commissioner to the Clackamas River Water Board, you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Oregon, and faithfully discharge the duties of an elected official for Clackamas River Water in accordance with the laws of the State of Oregon to the best of your ability?
I do.
I do.
Thank you, and congratulations. And we do have a plaque for each of you.
Thank you, Dean.
You are now official.
Wow.
Welcome aboard.
What have I done?
The commission is standing. We'll call the meeting to order. Have a pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under roll call, today we have a full commission of how many voters? Five. No longer can say we have four.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ken,
Yes.
agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
Any comments? If not, this is a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ken, report of the executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On 6/11/15, the board went into executive session at 7:15 p.m. Present were the General Manager, President Soa, Commissioner McNeil, Commissioner Kalani, and Commissioner Humberstone. The primary subject of the discussion was the employment of a public officer and a discussion of the evaluation of the current public officer. The meeting closed at 8:09 p.m.
Thank you. We have a position for a public comment. Anyone wishing to testify? Or comment? Come forward, please. State your name and address for the record, please.
Gary Kerr, Wilshire Circle, Oregon City. A couple, three things caught my eye since the last meeting. One which was in the paper on the 3rd, which has to do with low water and fish and curtailments. And just wanted to let the board know that there's some long histories with regard to those state agencies that they could, in my opinion, wanted to have such a thing as happening this year, to do some things that had planned for a while. So hope the board is up to speed on those and watching them to see that we are not adversely affected. Second item was emergency preparedness. There's been a lot of news in that in the last week. We've been watching it for a while. My concerns are always the SCADA system and some other things, so I hope the board is working with the management on that. Also, the July 1st Oregon City News, which I think was also in the Milwaukee Review, there's an article on the pipeline with Lake Oswego, which is mentioned in the general manager's report. But we remember we have a 30-inch line that ends up near Johnson Creek Boulevard that's intended to go to Powell View, and I hope we're not resigning ourselves and not finishing that here. So those are the three items I have for public comment. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Come forward, please. Please name and address for the public record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Cindy Lewis Wolfram in Milwaukee. Of course, I'm incorporated in Clackamas County. and I'm here for the Clackamas CPO. I'm just here to say that we're very glad to see you having a full commission again, and that we had a strong election last time, and that new members are on board. We want to thank the commissioners from the last round of commissioners, because they have recreated this board in a strong, democratic way, and we're very happy with the results that they've been having, and welcome their new members. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, we'll go into a presentation by our insurance person.
It's always an honor to get a chance to stand before you, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes on your agenda tonight. Tonight's a fun night for me. Welcome aboard. As you know, some time ago, Special Districts made a commitment to you, this board and this organization, that when a number of things had occurred, that they would be back at your doorstep offering to provide the coverages that they have in the past. I'm thrilled to tell you that as of 7/1 that they have done that. I greatly appreciate the help that the other carriers, Philadelphia and the others, gave us during that period of time when we left STAO. But getting back with STAO was important for three sentinel reasons. Number one, the coverage document is unique. It was put together by the pool for its pool members. It's set up to cover public entities. The coverage document starts off with talking about Oregon Tort 30.260 to 30.200, how you need to be covered, rather than buying lines of insurance from a for-profit company. So the coverage was important. They add in some things, as you know, ethics. They add in some things on ethics defense. They can't pay a fine, but they can pay for some of the defense. Some of the other items like OSHA defense and some of those that mean so much to us. The second reason is the training. And I know at least one board member went to some training yesterday.
Yes.
Now,
Excellent.
I've got to call into George Dunkel to see if that qualifies for best practices, but even before you took the oath of office, you may have saved the district 2%. If not, you're going to have to sit and listen to me later this year talk about Open Meetings Law 192 and Ethics 244. But thank you for going to that training. I love SDAO because they're focused on prevention, not having those losses. The third reason was a revenue issue. We're spending taxpayer dollars. We need to be as frugal as we can. Effective 7/1, we're back with special districts. They've stepped up and provided the coverages. The coverages are seamless from the old carrier to the new carrier. There is a slight savings going into the next 6 months. And then I estimate January 1st to January 1st of next year, you're going to be looking at about a $45,000 reduction in cost. So we'll be way under budget. I'm thrilled about that. We're going to be working on some deductibles. I think we can save a little bit more going into the fall, but I'm just thrilled to deliver that promise that was made to you earlier by special districts. Any questions, thoughts?
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It is an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Be good.
Under action items, first one, election of the board officers. I'll run the election until you select a new president.
Yeah.
Are we doing nominations yet? Okay, I would like to nominate Kane Humberson for president.
Ken's been nominated for president.
I'd like to nominate Larry Sowell for president.
Second, contested.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
On nomination, do we have to have seconds?
I would think we have to have a second.
I believe we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a second on the first or second nomination.
That's true.
Let's go
I'll
to the
second this, or the first, whatever.
Do we have a second on the second nomination?
I'll second it, just so we have, it just to make it fair.
For executive officer, do we have to do closed ballot or vote? Yeah.
You can do it either way. You can do it either way. It's really the prerogative of the board.
Could we have some ballots so we could do it by 6 ballots?
Sure.
You want my knife? You want my knife? You have secrets in
Yeah,
envelopes.
go ahead.
Yes.
Here.
Okay, I have for Ken Humbertston, I have 1, 2, 3 votes and 2 votes for Larry Soa. So Ken Humbertston is the new president.
Ken's been elected president. If you take override the rest of the election, please.
Thank you. Before we move on, I'd like to make a brief comment. When we first came on, this board needed an experienced and steady hand. And Dr. So has stepped up to take that role and has served admirably for, I believe it's now 2.5 years. And I want to personally say thank you. I think he's done a good job, and I appreciate the help and guidance he's given me, and I hope that we'll continue to work together. So, thank you, Dr. So. Nominations are now open for board secretary.
Okay.
Yes.
The question was asked, or there was discussion by the board about whether or not a nomination needs to be seconded, and we just referenced Robert's rules and they don't have to be.
Okay.
They don't know.
Good to know. The nominations are open for board secretary. Well, seeing none, I'll exercise the chair prerogative and nominate Hugh Kalani for board secretary. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, do you prefer a voice vote or a secret ballot? Since there's one candidate.
And the secret ballot would be what?
Yeah, exactly. I thought you'd enjoy that. All in favor of Mr. Kalani for board secretary, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Are there nominations for board treasurer?
But maybe instead of a nomination, we go on a volunteer basis. Who would like to volunteer for the job?
It's the easiest of the jobs.
No, the easiest job is nothing.
I suppose that's true. Are you interested? Oh, Naomi?
Oh, I just got here and,
But it'd be a good learning experience.
Coming from the mayor.
Will you accept?
well, I don't know, I'm going to, well, that's, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, because there's a couple of meetings, I'll be here by telephone, so it doesn't matter. I guess with treasurer, what does the treasurer do?
Nothing.
That's why I say, see, I think he has had to sign 3 documents and write 1 letter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I get that.
2.5 years.
Okay, that's fine then, I'll accept.
Then all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item number 2, election of board representatives to the CRWSC board. That is the 190 agreement board. Are there nominations?
Is this the board that combines with Sunrise?
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
Okay.
Any,
I just don't have any time for more meetings, so.
it's the chair's suggestion that we continue with the same members. Is that acceptable to the rest of the board?
It's me.
Yeah.
Okay. No. You'd like to decline? Decline, yeah, okay. Dave, would you be interested?
No.
Let's see, who's on it?
It was Hugh, myself, and Dr. Sutton.
Oh,
That's 4 meetings a year at the most, the quarterly meetings.
sure.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is Commissioner assignments. These are assignments such as liaison with Sunrise Water Authority, Regional Water Providers Consortium, C4, and other agencies. We currently have members who have already served in those assignments. Does anybody care to change their assignment, or are they willing to continue with the assignments that they have?
I have a couple of questions. Some of these have people that have been on them and some of them don't. Does that mean the ones that have people on them are more important, or they just happen to fit in with what people's interests were?
The latter.
Okay.
Is there one on there that's unoccupied that you would be interested in?
I was wondering how often the Special Districts Association work and met. Twice a year? Oh, okay. That seemed interesting. After going to that workshop, I was really interested in that organization. They seem, that sort of fits mine.
Okay. Let the record reflect that he's volunteered to represent this board, the Special District Association. Anyone else? Is there anything that anyone else would like to serve on? Okay. Moving on to item number 4, resolution 012016, a first reading by title only, amending local contract review board rules. Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Read by title only.
Yeah, as called for in board policy, when there are policies that need correction or modification, the general manager can bring those to the board, hopefully in July of each year. And so that they're, for the benefit of the public, to know what it is that we're talking about before I read the title. I'd like to reference the board to page 1 of 3 under the public contract exceptions and exemptions portion. Under F2, there is the phrase distribution and treatment related equipment repair, maintenance, and overhaul. And the oversight here is the word system. So it should read distribution and treatment system, related equipment repair, maintenance, and overhaul. That's one. On page 2 of 3, under F4, there's laboratory services. And again, we've added the word laboratory services and equipment. And then under 13, line 3 under 13, the board finds that the award of these contracts, rather than the word "in," we've changed it, is unlikely to encourage favoritism. And that's it. With those notes, I will now read by title. The Resolution 01-2015, a resolution amending local contract review board rules. Whereas the regular meeting was called by the Board of Commissioners of Clackamas River Water on August 13, 2015, and whereas pursuant to the provisions of ORS 192.640, notice of said regular meeting and the purpose thereof was given by email, Clackamas River Water website, and/or telephone to members of the governing body, the news media which have requested notice, and the general public in accordance with the requirements of state statute. So just to remind the board, because this is a policy change, there'll need to be a second reading, and so this would qualify as reading 1.
Thank you. Board have any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Item number 5, resolution 02-2016, approval of authorization for bank accounts and check signatures. Is there a motion? So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, resolution 03-2016, adopt and/or update investment policy. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Carol, you have a presentation.
Just a very short one. This is, again, best practices to bring forward to the board every year, a review of the investment policy. We are not changing it. Our investment policy is in compliance with the state of Oregon. We have not asked for any exceptions or changes, which would have to be approved by the investment board of the state. So it remains the same as what you've seen before. Every year, though, they do increase the amount of money that we can hold in the local government investment pool. And so in our policy document, we have made that change. It has gone from $45,642,885 up to $46,801,588. Now, that doesn't really matter to us right now. We've got about $9 million in cash, so this doesn't really matter. But should we in the future do some bonding and borrow some significant amounts of money, we would still presumably be under that cap, and we wouldn't have to search around for other investment opportunities. We could keep all of our money in the investment pool.
So what is the return on that now?
It's, I think it's still right around 0.6. It might be just a little under
0.6?
that. Yeah, it's actually better. It's better than treasuries.
One better than 05.
Yeah, it's better than treasuries, and it's safe and secure, so it meets all of the requirements of our investment policy.
Good, thanks, Carol. One other comment. This is nice. I think it's more usable for me, so better than a binder.
Yeah.
So makes it easier to have for reference.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, recurring payments. Approval of recurring payments for existing fiscal year 2015 and 16 contracts in excess of general manager's approved limit. Carol? Oh, excuse me. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Carol?
So first, I'd like to introduce Shelley Matthews. She works with me in the finance and accounting group, and I've asked her to put this presentation together for you this evening. So she'll be running through. She's just got a few slides, but just kind of letting you know what it is that we're talking about here.
We'll be going over recurring vendor payments. All contracts and purchases that exceed the general manager's spending authority of $50,000 must be approved by the board. Following this presentation, we'll be asking for approval of the recurring payments by the board. U.S. bank fees are made up primarily of merchant credit card fees, and the balance is customer analysis. And then utilities are made up, the majority of the utilities are electricity that's purchased through PGE. It's for our water treatment plant and our pump stations. And then water purchase, that's a good sound like. Water purchases, as you're aware, we purchase water from the South Fork Water Board. You can find the detail for that it's on page 1 of agenda item 7 in your board packet. This is a list of primarily general fund purchases, and you can find that on page 2. And the invoices on approved construction in progress are not included. We've also included recurring payments between $25,000 and $50,000. Although these purchases are within the spending authority of the general manager due to the significant amount, we do notify the board of these purchases. You can find a list of these on page 3 of your board packet. And we'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Does any member have any questions or comments?
We pay the bank more than $50,000 a year for this service.
That's correct.
Carol?
That again includes the account analysis, which is about somewhere between $1,500 and $2,500 a month. I think it's going down because we have a slightly larger balance in the general checking account. The rest of that is the merchant service fees that we pay for the credit card acceptance. So every time our customers call in and want to make a credit card payment, or they come in and we swipe the card. But that's kind of the standard expectation that people can make payments via credit card. We do encourage our customers to sign up for a rapid pay program, which is our least expensive way to accept payment. But there's a lot of people that want to use their credit cards. They have, bonuses that they get, whether it's travel or whatever. So we do allow customers to pay with credit card.
What's the percentage on that fee?
We are in the utility category, which is the lowest rate. So it's typically around 2%, but they add a little bit of extra sometimes on those rewards cards. So it's the base 2% plus some of the cards have extra charges because they are rewards cards.
I have one question. Was there any changes between this year and last year's presentation?
I added a couple items in here. We have the on-call construction surveying. I added that, and there was one other one.
Well, I believe the meter reading got added last year. They had some slight annual increases, and I think last year they were going to be at like 49,900 and something, and we figured, well, if we add a few more accounts, it could go up. So I believe that one was new last year. And I'm not sure on the IT backup. That's also really close to that threshold, I believe.
asking for myself only, whenever you add something in like that, that's a change from the previous year, can you kind of just asterisk that this is a new addition? Just brings it to our attention.
We've upped the dollar amount on survey because we're doing more of that. So even though it was it may not have been on the list last year, but it's on the list this year. We have the GT excavating because we're trying to expand our service base so that we can get a lot of this JTA, which is the construction that you see going on down the street, doing more of that. More excavation is now on call as well. We go to the next page, and I can identify some of those. The back truck rental, as you all know, we've upped the amount on that. Remember we talked about that, where rather than buy the truck, which would have been almost $300,000, we didn't believe for the dollar amounts that you saw here, we could justify paying that kind of money and letting a truck step. And so in that case, we've entered in, continued in the services contract, but we've upped the dollar amount.
Have we had any trouble getting that truck when the staff needed it?
No, part of the contract is really giving us more access to the truck, priority access than we would normally have if you were just going in. I believe those, Commissioner Humbert, are the 3 or 4 that have changed. Oh, in our medical has changed, and that was as a result of collective bargaining.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone else? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
The record show the vote is 4-1. Dr. Soa says no.
The reason I vote no is that I think that bank charge is very outlying.
Item number 8, resolution 04
Just a second, I guess I do have a comment.
Okay.
It bothers me too, and so I know a number of places where if you pay with a credit card, it costs you more. And so I don't know whether we want to consider that or not, but that's.
My understanding of that is unless you are very restrictive about the way you accept credit cards, you cannot charge a convenience fee. So there are certain businesses that are allowed to, but the Visa and MasterCard rules are very specific and very, very hard to get around. So for example, if we only allowed people to pay with checks when they walked into the building and they could only pay with a credit card via phone. And we didn't take online payments with credit card or in-person payments, but we only took payments by credit card by the phone, we could charge a convenience fee. But because people can do recurring payments through their through our utility billing system, they can call us with a payment, they can go online and make a one-off payment, or they can walk in and have us swipe their card because we accepted that and all other kinds of payments at all of our, through all of our different channels. Per the Visa and MasterCard rules, we are not allowed to charge a convenience fee.
I would just want to make a comment that I think that allowing people to use a credit card is a good thing. We do want to have a good customer service with the people that we're serving. We're already giving them a rate hike. We don't need to make them any more upset about anything. And also, there's probably bigger fees because we have a larger account. I use a credit union, but I am assuming that we're using a bank because of the large amount of money involved.
Right.
Okay.
There's also rules in the state of Oregon for public entities that we have to use a bank that can provide more than the FDIC insurance. So all of our funds that are in the bank are protected. And there's a list of banks that we are allowed to use.
Highly controlled. Any further questions or comments? We will move on to item number 8, Resolution 04-2016, approval of the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Milwaukee for vehicle maintenance. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
It is.
Discussion? Questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, consider the contract award for Southeast Tolbert Street Waterline Relocation Project. And I will note to the audience that the South Butterfield Lane Maintenance Agreement issue has been stricken from the agenda at the request of the staff. It is not ready for prime time. So we are moving to item number 10. And we need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Presentation.
We had one person on sign sheet that want to testify on this issue.
On this issue?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're not just going to go ahead and vote yes? Make it easy.
We want to hear what you have to
All right.
say.
Actually, I'm wondering, I want to know why Adam's not here. It's fun to harass him.
His bereavement
Oh, sorry.
issue in the family, so he's out for a few days.
Thank you, Bob.
So I'm filling in for him. Documents attached are the invitation to bid, notice of intent of award, which is a requirement of contracting, and the engineer's estimate. And I don't have a PowerPoint. I was just going to go over just some of the basic topic issues. This is a project that started in fiscal year 14-15. It has rolled over into 15-16 fiscal year, and the county has actually also bid their street work. And so we will be out there, if we approve the project, be out there at the same time. So it will be a coordination issue. But the initial estimate was $410,000 approximately. We had 3 bidders, and that occurred on, bid opening was on June 25th, 2015. We had 3 Kerr Construction, Trench Line Excavation, and 3 Kings Environmental. The comparable bidder was $312,412. Yeah. Substantially lower than what our estimate was, or even the other 2 estimates. We did review their bid tallies, and with that, they did have one line item that was low, $1 per, let's see, it was excavation, I believe. Where is that? I have it highlighted. Yes, trench excavation backfill. We did question them, we called them, asked them if it was a mistake. No, they'll stand with their bid. We ran it through legal counsel to make sure it was not an unbalanced bid to the point where we would reject that bid and go to the second. Legal counsel said it's okay to do.
It's responsive, yeah.
Yeah, it's not one of those you can toss out for a bidder for that purpose, especially when we talk to the contractor, make sure he didn't make a map error or a little something, because we do not want to put ourselves in a fighting situation over a bid item like that. So, have that discussion. They are the lowest responsive bidder. We've sent the paperwork out. So, basically, the project is, briefly, I think it's around 1,800 feet of 12 and 8-inch water line over here where the Tolbert, which is just 3 blocks north of 212, 224, Tolbert Bridge is going to be built over to Camp Whitcomb, coming and putting another access point over to 82nd. As you probably all know, they closed Ronfield at the railroad tracks down by the ODOT office. Coming up on 82nd, you cannot go through Ronfield now, go to Happy Valley area. That will bring some of that traffic back closer to the intersection, which is not a good thing, but it will give better access to the area. It'll be interesting traffic with all the work they've done on the JTA. It's moving quite along. I'm sure you've seen it in a lot of changes out here. This work is basically, they're gonna be reconstructing about 4 blocks of street along with Culver Bridge, and we have a 12 and some 8-inch line in there. And some real old 4-inch cast from probably the 40s, 50s that need to be upgraded. So we're upgrading those to our standard minimum 8-inch. Increased service, longevity, drawing our pipe, and better fire flow down in that area.
So is the bridge gonna support the pipe?
No, we are not taking a water line over the bridge. We already have a line just north of there, a 12-inch that goes under the tracks buried.
In the casing?
Case, yes.
Case, no.
So we do have to go under the bridge. We do have a new casing of the new 12-inch relocated as part of the
We
project.
do, okay.
But it's under the bridge, perpendicular to the bridge for a short section, and then it's all out where we can get to it for maintenance and care.
Quick question, as time goes on and construction gets going, do you anticipate any change orders? These items I thought were, I mean, the difference in the bids are pretty good.
I think they can request a lot,
Yeah.
okay, but I think we have pretty standard and pretty well-structured technical specs. There's not a lot of wiggle room for them to come and play those gotcha games.
Yeah.
If we have changes, I think what will happen is because the area is so old, we have very few records of the original interconnection points. And we're talking 1950s era, and we have limited service. So when we're doing tie-ins, that's probably where the change orders will come. Probably not pipe length, and that's where the expensive item they have. Pipe length will probably stay. We'll probably have some changes probably in trench excavation, which is not gonna hurt us much.
Not another dollar.
Not at $1, but we have some extra fittings to go around things we don't want out there. And that's not an unreasonable price that they have for fittings. So, does it make me uncomfortable? Yes, I'm leery. We'll watch them. We've worked with Curve Construction. They're doing the GTA work, and we
Okay,
worked
I was gonna
at Else
ask you
Place
that.
with
If
them.
you've used them before.
Yes, we have. And very qualified contractor. They have very good teams, water group, utility groups.
Do you have a
And-
written,
Sorry, go ahead.
do you have a written record of your conversation with them where you questioned the bid to make sure that they were okay with it? And do you have a written record of your conversation with the attorney when you reviewed it? In case they try to play any games, that we can clearly demonstrate that we made every effort to make sure that their bid was in good faith and accurate.
Our practice is to have telephone conversation pads and rewrite those things down.
Okay.
If it came from Dean, I have to admit, I was not involved in the process.
Mhm.
I believe that if the question was emailed to Dean, and came back as an email, probably there.
So we have a record of those conversations.
We also have a signed document once that we've accepted the bid as submitted. So that would be the controlling document.
Also, on the notice of intent to award the contract, it mentioned, we noted some of that appeared to be in bounds, but not enough to reject the bid, and we'll hold the contract to its prices. You received this document.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Oh, then they pay the prevailing wage, right?
Yes, they
That's
do.
what- okay.
Yeah, on the side of the job, anything over $50,000, yes.
Any final comments or questions from the board? Before I understand there's someone who wishes to speak to this issue. Is there someone in the audience?
Here.
Just for the record, you know, someone registering, I want to make clear that I have no direct ownership for this company, even though it bears my surname. And so if I was to go back to immigration, more than 80% of the crews came from Ireland and Scotland, which I am one, so way back when, yes, but nothing current or so on. I just want to make that clear for the record in case there's any issues.
My notes reflect Kerr, R-E, Kerr. Thank you. There's no, if there are no further questions or comments, we'll call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. A motion for the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any questions on the consent agenda from any member? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Informational reports. General Manager.
Yes. Commissioners, as you know, we are at the end, we just completed the end of our fiscal year. We've had several major projects that staff has had to work on. Some of those is Bell Avenue waterline relocation, the finishing of the biennial budget this year. You know, we moved from a fiscal year to a biennial. The 7th Avenue waterline relocation, the Monterey Avenue waterline extension. The projects that we're just now beginning on is the Tolbert Street relocation that the board just heard. And continuation of the work with the state and the county. We're also beginning to look for alternatives or trying to get ourselves prepared for major bonding activity for our Beaver Creek Backbone project. And then the working on trying to coordinate the efforts between CRW and Sunrise Engineering Department with their Stevens Road waterline replacement project. And we've also expended a significant amount of time on the analysis and implementation of continued activity on the ORS 190, which is the CRWSC for the benefit of Commissioner Angier.
Thank you.
A few examples of the area where we've transitioned, and that we talked about it before, is our finance and accounting functions, as you know, human resources, procurement and contracting, engineering and operations groups, we're still working on that, and the information technology and GIS services, water resources and water quality, emergency management, and our SCADA and system distribution and facilities maintenance. As you know, we do have an upcoming retirement set with our facilities maintenance technician. We are now in the process of recruiting for that position. We have, so far, we have one applicant that has applied that looks extremely well qualified. We are kind of in the process of vetting that individual now, and we'll have more to say, I'm sure, in the near future of whether or not we've been successful. That is an extremely difficult skill set to find now. It used to be that you could find these folks coming out of the Navy. It's where you could get these skill sets. And you don't see as many, as a lot of this work has become digitized, you don't see a lot of these skill sets coming out anymore. The limited maintenance requirement tends to be one of those things that becomes very costly now to train somebody on site, and you have to have a BOLI approved apprenticeship, certified apprenticeship program, and you have to have a supervising electrician on board in order to supervise the work. So if we're successful in finding somebody that already has those certifications, I think we'll be steps ahead. So that's something we're looking at. The other thing I think you'd like to know in terms of service level, because we don't talk about that much, we continue to get unsolicited comments from our ratepayers about the quality of work of our staff. I think it's significant when our ratepayers take the initiative on their own to contact me to let me know how well our employees are doing the work. And so I'm pleased to announce that we've gotten several of those over the last several months. One of the things that we have on the agency goals is trying to work on an intertie. And I think I passed out a report that was done by our colleague at Sunrise Water, General Manager Mr. Hathorn. We, as an organization, we being Clackamas River Water Providers, we're still evaluating our options under that, but basically, the round one of that is essentially complete.
I'd just like to comment on that. It was very good document. It was very informative to me. I didn't realize all of the different options, and what really helped me was the dollar amounts that were associated with those different choices, and I think it gives us a lot of information to help evaluate, how to use our dollars to facilitate those kind of redundancies that I think are important.
We intend to put that on the agenda for our work session so we can continue those discussions with you, the board. Because I think you have identified it as one of the more critical projects that we need to be looking at. As Commissioner Humbertson has already advised, we did have an executive session, which will continue on today. And because it is an executive session, other than talking about the general manager's performance and goals for the coming year, I will not get into the specifics of that. Carver Bridge, as you know, we've had a lot of fits and starts in terms of trying to resolve the water line situation. We believe now we have a firm date scheduled on the 14th, where we'll be meeting in the law firm of Stowe Reeves in downtown Portland.
Is that this month's 14th?
This month, yes. And that looks to be a half-a-day session where we'll have a cuss and discuss meeting, and hopefully we can move toward resolution, which is really the objective we have, so we can stay out of litigation if we can. The topic that seems to be really driving a lot of discussion of late, as you know, the general manager was interviewed on Coin TV on the 30th of this month about curtailment and the potential for a drought, and I use the word potential. We're not there, but there's a lot of things that are going on right now with the river and the surrounding rivers. And one of the things, even though we are experiencing sufficient flows, we are having problems with the temperature of the water. That tends to be the problem that we're confronted with now. I was surprised that both the Columbia and the Willamette and the Clackamas all are in excess of 70 degrees. And normally what would happen is that as the water got warm, the fish would swim deeper. Well, there's not much depth. And so what we're seeing is fish are beginning to die or have died. This is probably the better descriptor. Yes. And we haven't yet heard anything from the state about that. As you know, we implemented phase 1 of our curtailment plan, and we are essentially kind of, as required by our curtailment plan, we sent out a flyer to all of our customers and let them know what was going on. Just for the board's information, for those of you who have not seen it, our curtailment plan is really a 4-stage document. And it's stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. Essentially under stage 1, which is where we are now, that is merely notification to our customers that there is potential for some future reduction in usage. And we're just essentially telling them to beware that if conditions don't change, that there's a potential that we might have to go to stage 2 or 3. And what that requires is the general manager to activate the program, which we've done. I've received a lot of questions from both the media and the board about stage 2. And the trigger for stage 2 is a declaration of drought by the governor pursuant to ORS 536.720. That has not happened yet, except for in the southern parts of the state. I think there's 20 counties that have been so designated thus far.
So on the news tonight, they said that the governor had moved us up to moderate drought now.
Yeah.
So that's, what does that mean?
I think this is just a statement at this point.
Okay.
That there has to be a formal declaration in order to get to that next level.
So moderate is just one above nothing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I have a question. In the stage 2 triggers, the declaration is one of the triggers. It also mentions continuation of hot, dry weather predicted and declining river levels. Are those cumulative, or can any one of those things trigger stage 2?
Well, in stage 2, let me see if I can answer it in a different way. Under the 4.3 of the plan, gets into more specific, and it says the general manager will declare a state of emergency, will provide the handouts to field personnel who will be handing those out to our customers, encouraging the public through public service announcements, voluntary restrictions on outdoor irrigation, and customers will be asked to irrigate only between the hours of 8 p.m. and 10 a.m. in the morning. And encouraging customers to refrain from washing cars, to recycle, and prohibiting non-essential uses of water. So to answer your question specifically, I don't think it details out. It could be any one of those.
So any one of those 3 could be. So besides the governor's declaration, and the other 2 essentially are in our hands if we choose to make a declaration of stage 2 based on either the continuation of hot, dry weather being predicted or declining river levels.
Right, because there's, as you see, there's 4 stages there.
Yes.
One is continuation of hot weather,
Okay.
Declining river levels, or some kind of misfunction within our system, or extensive repairs needed on raw water or treated water transmission mains. And so it'd be any one of those.
Okay. So it can be individualized or cumulative.
Right.
Okay.
So can you talk to us about where the 640 CFS comes into? Because if you look at the USGS graph, there have been 2 days where we dropped below 600 CFS on the river. And if you deduct what's, I'm just trying to do the math.
Yeah, as you know, our plan really calls for the 750, and that's at stage 3.
750.
And so if you look under our plan, it basically says Clackamas River stream flows below 510 cubic feet per second CFS between July and September 15th, or below 750 CFS between September and June. Obviously, we're way ahead of that.
Yeah, because if I look at every one of the days, so I get a ping from the USGS every morning at 9 o'clock, and we take all those days. So Monday we were 775, Tuesday we were 721, yesterday we were 775, and today we were 750.
And so those would really, we would have to do that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I think the state is going to have to provide the notification for that alert. Although we could theoretically move the stage 2 now, because stage 2 if we wanted to, if it was consistent.
Yeah, I just trying to make some sense out of the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have a question on this issue before he continues with his report? Go ahead.
And the last portion that I have is, as you heard earlier today, SDAO has again agreed to insure us as an organization. And I know that's something that the board has been waiting for. So with that, I conclude my report.
Thank you. Item 13 is public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to make public comment before we move to commissioner business? Yes, Mr. Mitchell.
I was gonna ask about Riverside Park, but I'll wait. I wanna talk about the Bell Street project. They're doing a great job, except for one issue, and I don't know who's in charge of paving. There's a lot of nice bumps that can take a front end out, like on Jordan and Bell. They gravelled it, but they didn't cover it. Now it's getting a big hole there. I don't know who's in charge of this contract and the maintenance of it, if it's in-house or with the paving, but they're not doing, that's the only problem on Bell is they're not doing a good paving job. It's like hitting speed bumps and.
I think our engineer may have an answer for you.
My department, I'll have my inspector walk the job tomorrow,
Okay.
get it fixed.
Okay. That's the only issue. I mean, it's
I
like,
second that, because I travel on that street too, and it's got big holes, it's a big problem.
and then otherwise, everything else is perfect, the employees and, you know, flaggers and, you know, construction itself.
Okay, and I have an answer for a question you asked me last month, so when we break, we'll have a few minutes break before we go into closed session, and I'll answer your question at that time.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else care to speak at public comment? Hearing none, we move to commissioner business. Does any commissioner have any business they wish to discuss this evening?
Just one thing for
Bring
me.
forward.
I'm disappointed we didn't have our meeting today for the bridge water line thing. From this person's perspective, we gotta get that pipe done this year. Get it done. We'll fight it out later, but we've gotta get going on building that pipe. And I do not want to miss the window for in water work. I know there will be some. And so whatever you can do to encourage the county to restart the work, I think that would be in everybody's best interest.
And that's the purpose of our meeting. The difficulty we've been ready.
I'm sure.
CRW is ready, is trying to get the lawyers and the contractor corralled. And that's where the 14th now is the date where we intend to do that. My thoughts are to, wherever possible, to forget about fault at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And get the work done.
Yeah.
And we can figure it out later.
Yeah.
Naomi?
Okay, I just wanted to say, just very briefly, that I did go to the SDO training, and I now know everything there is to know pretty much about small districts. What you need to know for public meetings, ethics, public records, liability. And it was very informative, and as far as I can tell, we're following all the rules very well. So I appreciate you sending me to that. It was very informative.
Thank you. Any other commissioner have any comments they wish to make this evening before we adjourn? Hearing none, we stand adjourned.